Okay, so have you ever really thought about the phrase, I don't know? Like we say it all the time, but what about in a classroom? Could it mean more there?
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely not just admitting you need a bit more info, is it?
Right, and that's what we're diving into today, this whole idea of I don't know, but specifically in English as an additional language classrooms.
Mhm.
These are EEL classrooms in Luxembourg, and we've got this really cool research paper that takes a close look.
Oh, interesting. So what are they looking at? Like how often students say it?
It's even cooler than that. They actually analyzed video recordings of these classes, and they used this method called conversation analysis to really break down what's happening.
Conversation analysis sounds kind of intense.
It is. It's like being a language detective. Looking for clues in the way people talk, the pauses they take, those little words we use without thinking to really get to the meaning behind it all.
Okay, I'm intrigued. So what did they find out about? I don't know.
Well, they found that in these classrooms, it's often more than just a simple statement of fact. They call it a claim of insufficient knowledge.
A claim. So it's like a deliberate move the student is making.
Exactly. It's not just about not knowing the answer. It's about how that phrase functions in the classroom. It can actually change the whole direction of the lesson.
Oh, wow. So how is that different from a student genuinely not knowing the answer?
Well, the researchers found that a lot depends on the setup, like how the teacher phrases the question, whether they made eye contact with the student beforehand.
Interesting. So, like, if a teacher just throws out a question to the whole class, a student might be more likely to say, I don't know, just because they weren't prepared to answer on the spot.
Exactly. It's like they're using I don't know as a shield almost. And this is where it gets really interesting, because in a classroom, you've got all these dynamics at play. It's not just a dialogue between the teacher and one student, right?
Hmm.
It's what the researchers call a multi-log. Everyone's reacting to everyone else in real time.
Right. So, one student's, I don't know, can set off a chain reaction.
Exactly. It's like a domino effect.
So, then what happens? How do teachers typically respond to these claims of insufficient knowledge?
Well, one common response they found was, you don't know, which, again, seems simple enough,
Right.
but it's actually really clever. It acknowledges the student, but keeps things moving. It subtly shifts the focus to someone else without dwelling on that. I don't know. It's like they're trying to keep a whole bunch of plates spinning at the same time.
Exactly. And that's where the paper goes even deeper. It's not just about what the student says, but how the teacher uses those moments to actually teach something.
Okay, yeah, because just moving on doesn't really help the student who said, I don't know in the first place.
Yeah.
So how do the teachers in this study use that as a learning opportunity?
Well, they talked about this really interesting technique called embodied vocabulary explanation. So imagine a student says, I don't know. When they're asked about the word mutter, instead of just defining it, the teacher might actually act it out.
Oh, that's cool. So they actually whisper.
Yeah, exactly. They'll actually whisper dramatically, maybe cup their hand around their mouth, really embody the word.
That's so much more engaging than just looking it up in a dictionary.
Right. And it seems like it works too. The paper actually gives an example of this, where the student immediately starts whispering along with the teacher.
I love that. See, this is why I love these deep dives. We're getting to the good stuff, those little classroom moments that make a big difference.
Absolutely. And it shows how important it is to engage multiple senses in learning, especially with younger kids. But they don't stop there. The paper also looks at something called designedly incomplete utterances.
Designedly incomplete. What?
Yeah, it's a bit of a mouthful, DIUs for short. Basically, it's like a fill in the blank, but the teacher does it on purpose.
Okay, I think I get it. So, like, if you're learning about grammar, the teacher might start a sentence and leave a gap for the student to complete.
Exactly. Like, the cat sat, and then the student would say, on the mat.
All right, so it's like even after a student says, I don't know, the teacher's giving them another chance, a little nudge to tap into what they already know.
Exactly. It's about creating more opportunities for them to participate and show what they're learning, even if they felt unsure at first. And, that's a big part of what the paper calls classroom interactional competence. It's not just about what the teacher knows, it's about how they manage all these little interactions and turn them into a positive learning experience for everyone.
So it's like in addition to planning the actual lesson, teachers need to have a plan for those, I don't know, moments.
In a way, yeah. Because those moments, as small as they seem, can really make or break the flow of a lesson.
That's so true. This is really making me think about all the times I've just brushed past an I don't know without really considering what was behind it. And it's not just in classrooms, is it?
Absolutely not. Think about it. We say, I don't know, all the time. at work, with friends, even with family.
Oh, for sure. I mean, haven't we all been in that situation where someone asks a question and you're like, I don't know. Even though you might actually have some idea,
Yeah.
but maybe you don't want to say the wrong thing.
Or you don't feel like you have all the information yet. Or maybe you're just trying to buy yourself some time to think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show, even something as simple as, I don't know, can have all these different layers of meaning depending on the context, you know?
It's like a little window into what's going on beneath the surface. And that's what's so fascinating about this research. It's not just about language, it's about understanding how we use language to navigate all these different social situations.
It's like we're all playing this complex game of communication, and I don't know, it's just one of the moves.
Exactly. And once you start to see it that way, it makes you wonder, what other subtle cues are we missing? What other hidden meanings are hiding in plain sight? It really makes you think about how we communicate and what we can learn from those seemingly insignificant moments in our everyday conversations.
And that's what I love about these deep dives, right? We're taking something that seems so ordinary, like the phrase, I don't know, and uncovering all these layers of complexity and meaning. And in this case, it's not just about language. It's about understanding the dynamics of learning and how even the simplest interactions can have a huge impact.
And that impact goes way beyond the classroom, doesn't it? It makes you think about how we interact with each other, how we build relationships, how we learn and grow throughout our lives.
Exactly. So the next time you hear someone say, I don't know, don't just brush it off. Take a moment to consider what might be going on beneath the surface. You might be surprised by what you discover, not just about them, but about yourself as well. And that's something to really think about, isn't it? You know, it's amazing how this research has revealed the hidden layers beneath something as simple as, I don't know.
It really highlights how much goes on beneath the surface in any conversation, but especially in a learning environment.
It's like teachers are playing 4D chess while conducting an orchestra, all at the same time.
Totally. And this paper puts a name to that almost superhuman skill set, classroom interactional competence.
It's about being able to manage all those conversational threads, those I don't know moments, and turn them into a learning experience.
Right. It's about recognizing that I don't know isn't just a void of knowledge.
It's information in itself. It tells the teacher about the student's readiness, their confidence, maybe even their willingness to engage at that particular moment.
Mm-hmm.
And the teacher has to adjust their approach on the fly.
So it's not just about knowing the subject matter inside and out.
It's about knowing how to read the room, so to speak, and react accordingly. It's like, in addition to lesson planning, teachers need, I don't know, strategy plans.
Absolutely. Because think about it, each I don't know is a potential turning point in the class.
It could derail the lesson, or it could become this amazing springboard into deeper understanding, depending on how the teacher handles it.
And we've seen how they can do that with these creative strategies like embodied explanations and those clever fill-in-the-blank DIUs.
It makes you realize that teaching is way more than just lecturing.
It's about creating a space where students feel empowered to navigate their own learning, even when they're unsure.
It's about creating confident learners, not just students who can parrot back information. And that takes a high degree of skill, flexibility, and, yes, classroom interactional competence. This deep dive has given me a whole new appreciation for what teachers do, that's for sure. But you know what I find most fascinating? It's not just about classrooms.
Oh, absolutely. Think about meetings at work, family discussions, even just chatting with friends.
Once you start paying attention to those subtle cues, those I don't knows, and how people react to them, you start to see the hidden dance of communication everywhere. It's like we've unlocked a secret code.
And suddenly we're not just passively participating in conversations, we're seeing the strategy behind them, the way we use language to navigate relationships, share knowledge, and yes, even exert influence, whether consciously or not. This deep dive wasn't just about EL classrooms, was it?
It was about unlocking a deeper understanding of human interaction itself.
Exactly. So the next time you hear someone say, I don't know, don't just brush it off.
Pay attention.
You might be surprised at what you discover, not just about the other person, but about yourself as well. That's all the time we have for today's deep dive. Until next time, happy listening.